it's me, Sean Capri. I'm at home and you're listening to the most horse-powerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Tribe. I'm on a Skype call with my friend Ryan Turford. He's the man on the mongoose, and on our journey today, it's Halo launch day and week, and the Game Awards are coming up, and we got a bunch of stuff to talk about, so jump on into the Xbox Tribe. I'm so excited. Bah!
No power greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri. It's mongoose time.
Nobody is slowing me down. It is mongoose time, Ryan Turford. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, good sir?
Oh, I'm in my bestest ugly Christmas sweater. It's happening, man. We're into December. The countdown is on to the holidays. As we record this, people are logging on and playing Halo Infinite for the first time, dude. And I am so excited. I'm feeling the energy, like the Xbox community. We're all in it together, man. It's really, really exciting. I'm stoked, dude.
Yeah, I mean, people seem very excited about Halo today. Of course, the day we're recording this is the day after you're listening to it, but it is Halo Day today. So yeah. I'm so glad people are finally getting a chance to play the game because, of course, Sean, we put up a review for Halo already.
Oh, yeah.
People can check it out on the channel or the podcast view if they haven't already, with a special guest, Court Lalonde from Xbox A. So huge thank you to Court for coming on the show, talking about Halo with us. But bottom line, if most people didn't check out the review for some reason, it's awesome. I mean, we really liked it a lot. So I hope everyone is enjoying themselves with the campaign now, finding all the skulls and, just having a good time with it. And I hope people like it. So there you go.
Yeah.
But let's get into the show proper. Of course, we should clean the garage. If you like what we do and you want to support the show, of course, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Of course, subscribe to us on your podcast feed of choice, or you can head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/YouMakeFree. Throw a little tip in the tip jar. You get early access to this and all of our content. So, Sean, let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And what did we play this week besides Halo Infinite? We can talk about Halo at least a little bit if we went back to it a little bit, but what'd you play, my friend?
Yeah, well, I want to give my annual shout out. This is a bit of a December tradition for me, my friend. You might have noticed on the dock. I'm playing a game called Furi, which is made by the Game Bakers. This is one of my favorite games of all time. And after Halo, after we beat that and we did the review and everything, I was looking for a bit of a palate cleanser. Of course, I didn't play any of the games that I bought over Black Friday or anything like that. I fired up this boss rush game. And for the people who played, the people who know, you know, but Furi is this really special game in my heart, man, that I discovered a couple of years ago when looking for a game to actually play with my brother who was visiting at the time. And as it turns out, that's like the worst game I could have discovered because it's a single player game, boss rush thing, but really, really great combat, great controls, great soundtrack, really interesting and almost disturbing kind of atmosphere. Like the setting of this is very strange. And I just love it. I just played through a couple bosses the other night, and I think I'm gonna make a thing of this. Every year I'm going to just do my run through of Furi, a bunch of boss rush stuff. And I love it. That's kind of where I'm at, but I have a huge amount of regret because Riders Republic is on the list and freaking Guardians of the Galaxy is on the list. I just saw, I can't remember who it was. Was it Court? I think Court just finished Guardians of the Galaxy. And like everybody loves it, man. I just got to play this freaking game, but I'm a little distracted. And Halo came out and I downloaded it earlier today and I might have played through the first mission about 20 seconds ago. Yep. And I think it might be my game of the year, man. I think that game might be my favorite game this year because I'm like, I mean, of course, those are the other two games I just mentioned I haven't gotten to yet, but all I can think about now that the game is out is I want to go play freaking Halo Infinite, my friend.
Mm-hmm. And actually, you reminded me because I completely forgot to put this on the document, but we just announced our Game of the Year awards show is actually happening pretty soon.
There you go.
The You, Me, and Capri's, that's a perfect segue, of course. We actually put up a Google form this week for the community to get involved. So we're actually going to be recording the show next week, and it'll be going live on all the podcast feeds, including this one, on December 31st. Of course, patrons get 3-day early access to that show, and it'll have all of our You, Me, Capri contributors, so Kato, Sean, myself, Garrett, and Matt on one show for the first time ever, which will be amazing. And we'll definitely be talking about Halo Infinite. So I'm going to actually put a link in the show notes if you want to get your voice heard on the show, if you want to tell us what your favorite game of 2021 is and why. And yes, it doesn't have to have come out this year. You can be like some of our contributors already who've already said Animal Crossing, Sean. So, I mean, you can be one of those people if you want to be, or anything else. So look out for that pretty soon. And all entries for that have to be in by next Tuesday. But it's cool to see that you've been playing Furi. I think you talked about it on, it was either We the Gamercast this week or another show that I heard you talking about it. And it's a game that I played back. I think it came to PlayStation Plus.
That's right.
Games with Gold at one point.
Yeah.
And I played it there, and I just couldn't get into it for whatever reason.
Oh, Ryan, the gameplay is so good. What the heck, man? We keep missing each other on this stuff.
I guess, but I've also never really been to games that are kind of like just boss rush games in a lot of ways. So maybe I go back to it though, because I haven't played it since it came to PlayStation Plus. So
it really surprises me that you don't like it. Like it really is just such like, yeah, it's a boss rush game, but it's just such great action, man. Like, yeah.
I just remember because like, again, it's been a long time. It's been like since like 2016, 2017 since the last time I played it. But I remember there was something about the controls I didn't like. But again, that was like 5 or 6 years ago. My tastes may have changed.
Give it a try. Give it a try. Yeah, man. I want to, dude. And the other thing that I want to say too is I've had a couple random people, well, really just two, but Zero Skill and my friend Nathan have reached out to me separately to say like, try out this XO1 game. Like I love it. And I tried it out after Zero Skill let me know about it. But it was just funny to see like, you know, how the word of mouth kind of happens and the power of Game Pass, you know, hashtag Xbox Game Pass, man. It's pretty cool.
My God. Well, as for me, I'm not going to be playing Furi anytime soon, Sean, because I played Halo Infinite, of course, because we talked about it. But post Halo, a little game called Final Fantasy 14 Endwalker came out, and that's pretty much all I've been doing ever since. I did forewarn everyone on the podcast that that's probably what the game I'm going to be sticking with for the rest of the year, and it's already made me cry 3 times already, and it's the type of game that I've been waiting for a while, so I'm so excited about that game. But of course, it's not on Xbox, so I'm not going to, go into details with it on this show. You'll have to wait until our final PlayStation Drive of the year next week, when Matt and I talk about after he gets back from getting married in Mexico, which, by the way, huge congratulations to Matt, my co-host on the PlayStation Drive, for getting married, Sean. I can't believe it actually happened. So.
Mazel tov, Matt.
There you go. All right, let's slam the brakes on this conversation. It's time for some breaking news. And we got a few news stories this week. I mean, it's obviously winding down for the rest of the year, so I don't imagine too many news stories other than, of course, the Game Awards, which are happening tonight from the time you're listening to this, because this will be out on Thursday. By the way, if you want to hear some Game Awards predictions for some of the awards, Matt and I actually, because I knew he was going to be away this week, we recorded a show ahead of time with giving all our predictions for all of the awards at the Game Awards. So if you want to hear that, go over to the PlayStation Drive feed if you want to hear more about it. And I'm sure we'll be talking about all the announcements on next week's show, Sean and I. So I'm very excited to see what they've got at the show to announce.
Banjo-Kazooie, think big, man. Banjo-Kazooie's coming, I'm telling you. That's my
I'm already thinking big, thinking that Chrono Cross is coming, Sean.
Well, I mean, isn't that like confirmed? Like that's not even like a real prediction.
It's a rumor. It's not confirmed by anyone.
It's confirmed
by the GeForce League, sure. But
exactly. Like that's not. I don't know, man. Like it's funny because you guys did all the predictions for the awards, and I'm like, man, let's do some like E3 type of predictions. Let's do some beginning of the year type of predictions. That'd be fun. We could do it right off the top of our heads.
I was just gonna say no one asked us about it, so Sean. Is there? What do you think is going to happen?
Let's tease it for now because I'm literally just saying let's do some news. Let's get into some predictions in a little bit. Maybe as we're bouncing off and forth of it one with another, we can get back into some crazy predictions. But for right now, I'm saying Banjo is going to be the big deal, man. That's what Xbox is coming out with.
My God. Well,
come back to it.
Has to be about Halo Infinite, of course, with Halo Infinite out today. There is one thing that we actually discovered during our test during the review, which I think we didn't mention on the review cast, just because I didn't mention it because I didn't know if it was going to be this way in the real game, but it turns out it is. So Halo Infinite will not allow you to replay levels in the campaign at launch.
Devastating.
However, 343 has confirmed that the feature will be available sometime post-launch. They're working on it. They know it's a thing. And they will implement it at some point, which again, like I thought it was weird while playing it that it would have all the points on the map where all the missions took place, like ones you've actually beaten before,
right,
including all the things that you missed from the missions. But when I tried to go back and maybe get some of the items I missed, like there was no way to do that. I thought it was like super weird. So I was like, okay, maybe this is just a beta thing. Maybe this is something that'll happen. Like maybe it's something that'll be implemented outside the review build, but apparently that's not the case. So Sean, what do you think about this news because I think it's kind of weird.
Game is coming in hot, man. Like, this is just it. Every time one of these kind of announcements or revelations kind of happens, you just go like, golly, they worked on this game every second of every moment they could have possibly had up until until they launched it today. So it's not all that surprising. It does seem like kind of optional. It's certainly not core to the experience, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close, especially with the whole collectibles and collectathon thing that you can that you're going to want to do. You're going to want to beat and find all those things. So yeah, I'm glad that it's coming. I'm actually surprised, Ryan, like since we've recorded our review, there's been a lot of coverage that has come out, of course, the reviews themselves, and even more coverage since then. I'm surprised actually at the narrative around Halo, to be honest with you. I thought we talked about it after we recorded it. I thought there was going to be a lot more negativity around it. I thought, because there is, and we mentioned this in our review, there are things that can be nitpicked about it. This is one of those things. And I'm actually surprised that the narrative is as positive as it is. You officially won our Metacritic guessing game. You were one off. I think you said 86. It turned out to be about 87.
Well, actually, if you go look at it now, it's actually down to 86, Sean.
Oh, snap. You nailed it, dude. Oh, crap. You get both showcase showdowns. Holy cow. Yeah. So not a huge deal to me right now, because I really think that in the meantime, people should just focus on playing through the game rather than going back. But that might be just my style of playing a game like this. And I do think that maybe in the end, we may even be thankful for this sort of rollout, because you can focus on the game, spend your 10, 12, 15 hours in the game, and then maybe it'll line up just when they're going to have some of these additions or fill in the blanks, fill in the potholes, if you will, into the game over the next couple of weeks and months as they come.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, if you miss like a mission log or a skull, like it's such an annoying thing to like want to be able to go back and collect that and then not be able to, and especially because it kind of hangs over your head, especially when you look at your overall percentage for the game and like what things are missing from that. So I could definitely tell like people were a little upset when they read this, and rightfully so. Like, it's a feature that I wish was in the game. So I'm glad that 343 is actually publicly acknowledged that this is a thing and they're actually working on it. So
big time.
We will get an update for it at some point. We don't know the timing for it or anything like that. Hopefully it's before we get co-op, but we'll see.
Right.
We'll see on that one. I mean, at this point, this is why I'm like, it's little things like this that are making me not like, even though I'm like installing the game today, I'm not going back to the game today, like going back to it right away. Not even just because Final Fantasy 14 is out right now, but also like I kind of want to wait until some of this stuff gets ironed out before I do my second playthrough of Halo, if that makes sense at this point.
Second playthrough, I could see it. Yeah, for sure. I'm just so in love with everything about it that I want to play it again. And yeah, so I could see it. I'm hoping that it doesn't tarnish it too much. Like I said, the narrative can be very powerful, but in any case,
it's like between this and the two, the other talking point is the ability to not be able to switch your difficulty mid game. Yeah, which I know a lot of people have been pretty vocal about as well. But again, Halo, you've never been able to do that, but you also will return to the mission select menu every time you completed a level and could change the difficulty there. Yeah. So I wish there was something in the game to kind of implement that, and I think they're going to adjust that at some point too. So it's just little things like that you're right. Like, I'm also amazed that it ended up being as positive as it was, but again, it was the type of thing we talked about in the review. Some of the reviews actually factored the multiplayer into the discussion with the single player, and I noticed that the reviews that did that actually ended up being higher than the ones that didn't. So,
I can see it. Well, and that's interesting to do that on that day because the multiplayer really wasn't out of beta. Like, technically now it's out of beta. There was a 4 gigabyte patch that I had to download before then downloading the campaign today, which was I think 26 or something like that on the Series X. So yeah, a little bit of an interesting kind of rollout there, and reviews always, like, there's just different ways of doing it, I guess. I think we've got a really good way of doing it. I think people will hear more final thoughts, so to speak, on our multiplayer side of things. As you know, we'll get into Halo Saturday this weekend. We'll have a little bit more matches on this. I don't expect there to be too much changes, to be honest with you. Like, now that it's out, I actually don't expect there to be too much, but I haven't checked it out as of recording this yet.
Well, speaking of our Halo review, Sean, I'm going to bring in Court Lalonde.
Oh, snap.
Court Lalonde on Twitter, who is on our Halo review, who asked the question, we reviewed Halo Infinite, the game and the multiplayer separately, but with the recent preload information, should the can be considered one game? And it brings up an interesting question that kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, where I think the reason I know that I wanted to review them separately is because they feel like, even though they're in one package, in a way they kind of feel like two separate games, and like, because they're separated, they felt very separated from each other, at least except for like the multiplayer rewards, obviously, that you get from the single player, but otherwise they're not really entwined in any way. So that's why I like doing discussions about the single player and multiplayer separately. Not only that, but it also allows us to get more in depth with, you know, the multiplayer, like talking about the multiplayer rather than, you know, rushing through it. Otherwise, we'd have like a 3-hour podcast that we'd put out, which is
probably could
not always fun for, like, it's fun for us to record, but not always fun for people to listen to. So that's why I like the idea of maybe doing them separately. But what do you think about Court's question, Sean?
Yeah, I think that the way, I mean, you and I I think we review things when we're ready to review them. And I really don't think that the game itself and us, I don't think that it lined up for us to review the multiplayer just yet. Like, that's just personal, like coming from a very personal perspective. I would have wanted us to, and that's what we're doing. Like, I wanted us to wait until after the game was launched in order to review the multiplayer. For the campaign, it is different because we experienced the campaign as it is, like, and as people are going to be playing it today. And so that's always like, man, like, there's a lot of kind of inside baseball here, but these are always the thoughts and considerations that I have. I've mentioned before, but I take this responsibility like very seriously. Like, it is a real privilege that we get to play these games ahead of time in some cases to provide our thoughts. And it's like, I want to be as thoughtful and truthful. And what that means for us is we reviewed the game that we thought was going to be representative of what people are going to be playing on day one. And I don't think that I can say the same about the multiplayer because they told us that it was a beta. So I feel like for us, it would be a little bit disingenuous to review it as an entire package because the game comes out of beta today. So today is when we really start to play Halo Infinite multiplayer, and we'll have some final thoughts, I think, afterwards. And what people have heard from us so far, as we've talked about Halo Infinite multiplayer, has been our impressions. Like, that has been fun, and there's certain things that we would like fixed and tweaked and things like that. And what I think you're going to find, I'm surprised that the scores on the reviews that include the multiplayer are even higher, because I think when you put the two together is you start to add up things that are missing. Like, there's definitely things that are missing on the multiplayer side. There's things that are missing on the single player side. There was a Bloomberg, I think, report that talked about where it ended up, which we spoke to as a sort of like as a guess on our review. Like, it seemed like they were cutting things. I wasn't exactly sure what that was. Turns out that was the case. But yeah, the game it's still under construction, man, but it is so rock solid. I said this in a review, like, the gameplay is so rock solid that it kind of overcomes that. And that is so rare for the overall narrative to override the things that are missing. Cause there's a lot to nitpick here, man. But the game is so good. So yeah, we'll have more final thoughts. And, you know, if the multiplayer package is as it has been, then I think we should be a little bit critical about it. Yeah. Just as we have been with the single player stuff and everything that's missing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why, like, with multiplayer games in particular, I don't like to review them pretty quickly after launch anyway.
Yes.
Like, usually like 3 or 4 weeks after they've officially launched, even if it's an early access one, is usually the time frame for it. It's why, like, on the RPG Cave, for example, we could have done our review for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker already, like, this week, but we're holding off until the middle of January because there's other multiplayer things to consider. Yeah. So we don't want to, you know, rush that review out rather than it being, you know, just like a giant high of all the things we liked from, you know, the first week of playing the game. Right. So we want it to be more representative of what people are going to play. And with multiplayer games, a lot of times it's not usually like even though it kind of feels like a one and done experience, a lot of times it is something that it's going to grow with you over time. So that's why I think I also agree with you. Like, this is the type of thing where we'll probably maybe talk about it in like January when we come back from, you know, the holidays kind of thing. So there you go. All right. Speaking of Halo, the Halo live action TV series will have its first full trailer during the Game Awards tonight. So they actually released a teaser trailer of about 20 seconds of a bunch of UNSC Marines running around a hangar with a whole bunch of Halo vehicles in the background. And it looks like we're finally getting our first look at the Halo TV show. And I got to say, from the little 20-second snippet that they showed, it looked pretty much like Halo as far as the outfits on all the UNSC characters, the vehicles themselves look like Halo vehicles. It looks authentic to the universe, but whether or not the story or the writing kind of lives up to it, the Halo name is what I'm most curious to see happen. But Sean, what do you think about this? Are you excited to see this first look at the Halo TV show?
I guess I think just because Halo is like kind of the hotness right now, that yes, I'm kind of like, give me all the Halos, give me the podcast, give me the movies, give me the TV shows, whatever it is. But I've always kind of like looking at this out of the side of my eye, going like, what is the look of it? And you're right. I think I agree with you. I like the style of this, the cinematography, like just the lighting. Like I feel like I've seen live action Halo in the past, and something always seems a little bit off to me, even though it seems probably like objectively correct. I just think that it takes a very particular style and presentation for Halo on the live version for it to really translate. So there's a lot that could go wrong with this show. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like I kind of just like hope for it to be mediocre at best, and I feel like that will be a win. But yeah, because like Halo itself, everybody talks about the story and the lore and everything, but like there's a lot of action that kind of happens in between those punctuation points where you're gonna run through a bunch of enemies, you're going to kill this guy, you're going to jump up over here and do all this stuff. And then you kind of get a bit of a reward for that section of the game with some character development and some storytelling and things like that. But I'm always curious, like, how do you translate that into a TV show? Like, I guess what really has to happen is the action sequences on screen have to be spectacular and amazing. And I just really, really curious on this one, but I really hope they stick the landing. And do you wonder too, I want to throw a question back to you. Do you wonder if like the December 8th release date of Halo has anything to do with like the TV show? Like it seemed like, why didn't they release like next week? Couldn't they have used like another week maybe on this thing? Does it have to roll into the marketing machine that is going to be now going into the TV show and everything like that?
It's possible. I mean, if memory serves, someone will probably correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, but I don't know if we know the release date for this TV show yet at this point.
Yeah.
So we don't even know when it's coming out. Like it might not even be until, summer of next year at this point with Halo. Like I think you're right. Like the timing this trailer with the release of Halo, I think is probably the idea they were going with to make sure that, they're kind of lined up together. So they're coming out around the same time. So, you've got that buzz built from Halo. Although obviously if they could have released the game
November 15th,
they would have.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
good point. But once they were past, I guess that was my point, was like once they're past the 15th, they're like, okay, it can't be past the 9th because that's when we want to do this whole other thing. So you get the hype from the launch, and now we get to move into this other stuff, I guess.
Maybe, but I feel like if the game was in rough shape or if it needed to be delayed, it would have been delayed beyond today. I feel like at this point.
True.
Like,
That's true.
I don't think it's like the Thor licensed game, for example, based off the movie that needs to be out the same day as the movie, or else
good point.
People will not play it. Like I don't think it's that type of scenario with Halo. So yeah, we'll see though. But either way, I'm excited to see what this is because a Halo TV series could be awesome. It could also be really terrible. It also could be like that. I think it's called Nightfall, Halo Nightfall, the one that Ridley Scott did with Agent Locke, because that was not good. So we'll see. All right. And then the last news story this week actually came out right after we recorded last week, so we did miss this one. But Respawn have announced that the original Titanfall has officially been delisted from sale, so you can no longer purchase the game. In addition, the game will be removed from EA Access on March 1st, 2022. This apparently is just so they can shut down the Titanfall servers, and since it's a multiplayer only game, I mean, there's no single player or no way to play the game offline or anything like that. So essentially the game just won't work, essentially, even if you got the disc at this point. So Sean, what do you think about this sad news story? Because I mean, this hurts to see, of course, every time we talk about a delisting story, but what do you think about Titanfall getting removed? So
I want to play a game with this one to go like, what if they didn't announce it? What if they just like turned it off? And who would know? Like, am I only sad about this because they're announcing it? And I think that the answer is yes, because I haven't played this game in how many years? I haven't thought about playing this game in how many years? So they think there's an element there. The other side of this conversation, I think that is inherent, is that there's this worry that we're buying games. We're in this era of video games where they're not going to be playable forever. And I do, like, I empathize with that big time. Like, it kind of sucks. Like, there's games that I'm looking behind me, like, I'm like there's old Nintendo games. I'll throw that cartridge in forever. UN Squadron, for example, and I'll be able to play that forever. But I think for this one in particular, because it's a multiplayer game, like it's kind of more so tied to the community and the audience that's there that just dwindles naturally. Like there's an attrition there that I think happens like no matter what, and whether or not they stop supporting it or selling it or whatever. So it's not as big a deal, I think, as maybe some might make it out to be because of that. Probably first and foremost is people have moved on from Titanfall to a huge degree. So that makes sense. But yeah, I understand kind of like all points to it, I think.
Yeah, like it was funny because I saw some people posting this on Twitter, but if you can actually go look at how many people are playing games on Steam,
right,
at one time, and even before, like you can go back in the past and look at some of this stuff, and the Steam concurrence for this game were like below 20 people for
playing
this game at a time,
man. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
It's not enough people to really like populate a game or two. Really,
we have more people playing Halo Saturdays with us in our own lobby.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're right on the money, Sean. I feel like this, like, it's always sad to see games get delisted because, to your point, like, any games on my shelf that are physical, like, you can pop them in, it'll always work. Except for Disney Infinity, which is a Toys to Life game, which
it doesn't
really work anymore. No, because it was so internet connected, and also Guitar Hero Live. I have that physical too, and
Disney Infinity doesn't work. You've got to be kidding me.
Unless they put out a separate patch to allow offline playability, but you weren't.
I haven't heard one way or another. I'm just really surprised that was even a thing that could happen with that game. I mean, man, I've got really good figures for that. I've got like a Venom down here. I've got like a Black.
Oh no, same here. I've got all the Star Wars ones, and because I really love the looks of those figures.
Yes.
So I was like, I'll play Disney Infinity because I liked Lego Dimensions so much, and I was a little sad to see that go offline. But Guitar Hero Live in particular was a game that I actually thought was pretty fun, but you can't play it at all anymore. Like the disc is essentially just a paperweight at this point. So that's why I don't love it in all scenarios. But in Titanfall, like a game like this that's so hyper focused on online deathmatch and stuff like that versus other players, like this is the type of thing where I am less sad about it than versus other scenarios. So
dude, I got a sweet Venom character. Like he's right here. Like people should check out the video. I'm doing Rybo's favorite segment where I just reach behind me and grab toys. Like this Venom character is awesome. This little figure, holy crap. Still in the box because I'm a monster.
Of course. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, either way, like, yeah, this move makes sense. I mean, it's to funnel other people, like the 12 people that are left playing Titanfall to play Titanfall 2 or Apex Legends or whatever at this point, whatever it's coming next from Respawn. But
you just wish that this announcement came paired up with like, but stay tuned, Titanfall fans. We've got something else for you, and it doesn't. It's just a single. It's this. We're killing this thing, and that never feels good.
You're essentially losing something, but not getting anything in return.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, I never like to see physical discs just become completely useless. Something like Titanfall on Xbox 360, for example, can't even be played anymore.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's okay.
All right, let's let some of the friends into our car with us. It is time for the carpool. Folks at home, if you would like to have your question read and answered on the carpool, there's a number of ways to do that. Of course, follow us on Twitter at YouMeCapris. We put up a question post every single Tuesday afternoon, so you can leave your questions there. Or you can join our Discord, the YouMeCapri Discord. It's free to join. The link's in the show notes, so you can leave your questions in the Xbox Drive section. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, leave a comment with your video, and we'll go ahead and answer it. Just like Eric Cave did on YouTube. He asked the question, since the release of Halo Infinite multiplayer, I have played and thought about nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm surprised how much time I have found to dedicate to the game. I can't wait for the campaign to be released next week. My question for you is, what percentage of time should I dedicate to multiplayer versus the campaign? So, Eric, I think on the review, we talked about this a lot, but the campaign is actually like very manageable as far as time is concerned.
Yes.
Like to the point where I think that even if you didn't even want to mainline the story, even if you wanted to explore at least a little bit, you could probably beat it in a weekend. Like two 5-hour sessions and you're probably done the game at that point. Right?
Nah, that's pretty mean. I mean, not everybody plays like you, Ryan Trevor. Not everybody can like complete the entire scouring of the map and beat the game in 11 hours. But you're close. I think I would say. Like
I was just gonna say you beat it in 12 hours, so that's not much. We're like nitpicking hours at that point.
But you had like 78% completion. I had like 40%. Like it was a little bit like we spent our time differently, and I'm not sure exactly how that ended up happening. But
well, I was gonna say like the shortest time of all of our players was actually Matt Sawinski, who actually beat the game the fastest in 9 hours and 3 minutes.
Oh, speedy guy, nice.
But he only had like 30% completed or something like that. So very low completion on the actual map because he mostly mainlined it too, because he was of course leaving for Mexico this week. So there you go. Like,
Squeeze in a Halo before I get married, before the nuptials, man.
But yeah, so to my point, I don't think you actually, Eric, I don't think you need to dedicate too much time to the campaign unless you really want to just savor it, like maybe play like an hour or two a night of it and then kind of, have it be kind of a slow burn kind of scenario where you play like an hour or two of it and then an hour or two of multiplayer and that's kind of your Halo for the night.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like the campaign, I felt like in a way like and we talked about this on the review too, that yes, we had a deadline to finish it on, but we just played it naturally as if we were going to play it the way we're going to play it anyways. Like, I didn't want to put the controller down as soon as I started playing it. So I found that it was more fun for me to play it kind of in 1 or 2 or 3 doses essentially versus it being like a long standing thing.
Same.
But Sean, what do you think about Eric's question?
No, I'm totally with you, man. It's not Far Cry 6. It's not a Ubisoft game. Like it's so far from that. It's very focused on just the overall experience. And so, yeah, I don't know. I feel like depending on how you play multiplayer, like for me, I generally play multiplayer with friends. So that actually dictates my gameplay more so than just jumping in. And I also like once I started the campaign, just like you, like I just wanted to finish it. So I don't think it would like in the long run, it's not going to distract you too much from your multiplayer. But I will say like go scour the map and get those armor color palettes, man. Like go find those things because I think that will elevate your experience over on the multiplayer side as well. But yeah, there's ultimately this is kind of like what I think we thought out of Halo, which is a pretty solid single player campaign that you will then go over to play multiplayer for the rest of your life. Kind of thing. Yeah. So you can take a little break from multiplayer. I think you've had a lot of time with that, which is exactly what I said when they did the whole beta thing. I was like, this is perfect because I can have my couple weeks with multiplayer and then not feel like I've got to make a choice on should I start with multiplayer? Should I start with single player? Like I got my fill of multiplayer. I've now had my fill of single player. And surprisingly, I think I'm actually going to go back to the single player. This is actually not how I drew this part of the gameplay is not how I drew it up. But yeah, I'll play Halo Saturdays. I will probably play through the campaign once again. And so, yeah, I'm curious to see how others are going to treat this as well. But if you love the multiplayer, then stick with it. But the single player, I think, shakes things up for people who maybe have gotten too used to, or maybe things are getting a little stale on the multiplayer front. Go shake things up in single player land.
Yeah, and we also know that updates are coming to the single player too. So I mean, it's not going to just be ending today. Like all the content from the story is not in the base game. 343 came out and said this before the game even came out. They said that the idea was to build on the game, like story-wise, as they went with it. So yeah, like even the experience we get today, like even if you don't play the campaign right away and get to it later, like you're still going to have a great time regardless. So
that's right.
Yeah, you can just decide how you want to budget your time. But I think it's great either way, regardless.
Yeah, man. Oh, Halo. It's back.
Next up, Seamus McIsaac at Famous Seamus also had a Halo question. He says, today's the day. Might as well ask, what is your favorite Halo moment? It can be a trailer/promotional thing, a story moment, an unbelievable multiplayer moment, or something outside the game. So for me personally, to give you some time to think about this one, Sean, it wasn't actually something while playing a Halo game. That is probably my favorite Halo moment. It is definitely something that happened outside the game because honestly, my favorite moment and the moment that will always stick with me for the rest of my life is actually waiting outside EB Games when Halo 2 came out, because there was actually like a giant line of people that like everyone was like super jazzed for Halo 2 to come out, myself included. Like I was like so hyped for that game. Like you couldn't even believe it. So just standing in line, getting to talk to players in the community who, again, like I am a very introverted person, so I usually don't get out there and talk to a lot of people, especially like people who play video games, let alone people who play video games who live where I live, essentially.
Yeah.
So having a night where I did that, like there was a dude in line who brought his guitar and he was playing Halo songs on the guitar. To like just all of us just nerding out about Halo on a cold November night in London, Ontario, and then waiting to get in the doors. And they had the whole store was done up with Halo stuff, like the Halo soundtracks was there. They had a giant standee of Master Chief in the store. They had all kinds of like Halo stuff. So it was like an experience that'll always stick with me throughout my entire lifetime. That'll always whenever I'm thinking about positive moments with Halo, that always comes up. And then the other thing I will say as well is nights where we would play like 16 player multiplayer Halo 1, all system linked with 4 Xboxes and 4 CRT TVs with 4 copies of the game, where we basically play like 16 players in one room, which was crazy to play back in the day. Back in 2001, like there was no other experience like that. So those are two things that really kind of stick with me. Again, there's not a specific moment from the game that really sticks with me, and maybe there are a couple that will in this current game that I'm not going to say for spoilery reasons.
Yeah.
For the most part, from most of my memories of Halo, they're mostly from stuff outside the games. But what do you think about this question, my friend?
Yeah, there is definitely a couple of things that happen in the single player campaign that they're very fresh as well. So there's some recency there. I feel like it's such a cliche, man, but like I remember like it seemed like something that shouldn't be able to happen. And it is at the System Connect, the LAN party experience. And my LAN party experience that I had at my house was maybe a little bit different. I'm not sure than some others, because we didn't move TVs. We kept TVs. We had one TV in the basement at my parents' house where I grew up, and one TV just kind of like on the main floor. And somebody brought over, this changed my life, honestly. Somebody brought over like a 50-foot Ethernet cable and was like, we're going to do it this way. And it was so memorable for me because you've got like the door open to the basement because this cable's got to like feed in there. But the memorable part was hearing the group upstairs screaming when you did something downstairs. So like we get a sense of that with like our voice chat and everything on Halo Saturdays, but there's something about like the distance of it being like far away. So it was like you could hear it kind of quiet off in the distance, but close enough because it was upstairs kind of a thing. And that was really special, man, because like you would just kind of get this thing back and forth. Like you would have somebody downstairs get the kill, the other guy react upstairs, then the guys downstairs all laughing at the reaction that they got out of the guys upstairs. And it was, I don't know, it's really, really special. But yeah, man, there's lots of great lines from Master Chief, and there's lots of great just like very climatic kind of moments. I think even just the way that this game starts is really, really good. And dude, I mean, to me, it's actually even less about the moments and more about the characters. But man, there's some great lines out of these characters all the way through. But that's kind of where I'm at with this.
And there's also one moment in the game that really stuck with me, not so much Halo Infinite, but Halo Reach in particular, just the ending of that game.
Oh, God, yes. Oh,
my God. When I first played that, I couldn't believe what I was playing. Like, that was something. So, again, I'm not going to spoil it because I even though this is an Xbox podcast, there's someone out there that hasn't played Halo Reach.
Gotta play Reach, man.
Right? So, yeah, there you go. All right. Next question comes to us from Dan Rodriguez at Dano12, who asked the question, more games are becoming TV shows and movies. Which ones are your favorites and least favorites? Second question, what are some TV shows / movies that are in your backlog now? So, yeah, as far as video game movies and TV shows, I mean, the reason I'm excited for Halo is because I feel like we've been moving in the direction where video game TV shows and movies are getting better. Yeah. Like stuff like Arcane, for example, just recently released, which is the League of Legends TV show. 2 other movies like Sonic, which, yes, even though I know Sean doesn't like Sonic, I will say the Sonic movie was not terrible. In fact, it was all right.
I gotta check it out. I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan. I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, and with the sequel coming around, they actually just released the first like teaser image for it with Tails flying the plane and Sonic on top, and then Jim Carrey in the full like Dr. Robotnik outfit, like flying like a flying machine. I'm like, that's a movie I'm excited to see. So,
they should have teased the next one with like the original Sonic design that they did the first movie.
Oh my God.
They just revert back and just try to get people outraged all over again.
You never know. They might bring him in some like parallel universe kind of thing. So yeah, I feel like since we're moving in the direction for that, I am really excited to see what happens with a lot of the stuff that we've been hearing about, like the Halo TV show, like The Last of Us coming to HBO, like everything I've been seeing from that. I'm like, that looks like it's
Yeah,
from
that
the
might be
game,
good.
which
Yeah.
that might actually be pretty good. So as far as things that have come out in the past that I really like, I mean, my favorite all-time video game movie that's ever been released is the original Resident Evil with Mila Jovovich.
Oh, that's a good answer. Yeah, for sure, man.
I think that movie is not just a good video game movie, but I actually think it's a pretty good zombie movie.
Yeah,
so
good one.
I actually really enjoy that movie a lot. I actually watched it pretty recently again, like just to make sure that it still holds up. And
Yeah, it is
still
good.
holds up. It's still pretty good. So it's definitely up there. And then as far as TV shows are concerned, I mean, mostly video games based off TV shows I find actually work well in either animated realms or anime.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that I like in that realm is kind of in there. Again, Arcane it comes to mind too, which is actually like a really good TV show. And I hate League of Legends. So the fact that I
snap.
like Arcane, despite the fact that I hate League of Legends, just tells you like how good that show is. But
Yeah.
Sean, what do you have to say to this answer?
Well, in my backlog is where I'll start, and I regretfully haven't watched The Witcher or Castlevania. And I watched the first. I should say I watched the first episode of Castlevania and loved it. There's nothing against the show that I didn't continue on. I was just kind of busy with other stuff, but those are the ones I want to get to. My favorite video game movie, you're gonna hate me for saying this, is Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat movie.
Why would I hate you? I actually think that's one of my like top 3 video game
Oh,
movies.
good.
of all
I don't
time.
know. I just think that, like it's kind of laughable. Like it's kind of, I don't know. It's just silly. It's also like very 90s and like over the top with the soundtrack. But to me, like it was kind of as good as we could have possibly expected for that thing, man. Like focused on Liu Kang. You got Johnny Cage doing the splits and punching Goro in the face. And like, I was scarred for life because like those people like died, you know, and I was however old I was, like 7 years old. It was like this, you know, battle for your souls kind of tournament. Like it made it real. I was playing a video game before, but the movie is what really scarred me. These people are like facing against this monster they could never defeat. And like, yeah, death is imminent for them. But I love that one, man. The soundtrack is memorable. I bought that soundtrack, the CD, at a place called International Stereo here in Canada for $17 because I paid in loonies because I was I saved my money as a kid. I had like this tower that I put all my change in, and I'm like, I've got enough money, Dad. I'm gonna go buy this soundtrack. So put that in. I played it in my Discman, my $75 Discman that I got from Canadian Tire, of course.
Yeah.
So it was a very special move, man. I've watched it so many times. The freaking fight with Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Oh my gosh, I feel like
Scorpion and Sub-Zero don't fight in that movie. Scorpion fights Johnny Cage in that
Johnny
movie.
Cage
And
in
Sub-Zero,
the. Sorry, go ahead.
Sub-Zero fights Liu Kang in that movie.
Yes. So man, the spear is perfect. Like it just comes out of his hand. You're like, you didn't think you were gonna see that, man. Mortal Kombat. Shout out to Mortal Kombat.
And fun fact about that soundtrack, John, I also had that soundtrack. I bought it at a Sunrise Records here in town.
Sunrise, nice. I like it.
So yeah, I really like that. I mean, the Mortal Kombat theme has just persisted over the years because of that. And it's funny when you think about that movie because essentially like all the Mortal Kombat lore was completely different before that movie came out. And then people liked the lore in the movie so much that they actually like changed the lore in all the games to match all the match the movie.
Yeah.
Where like Kano was like a Chinese person before, but he became Australian because they really like Kano's adaptation in the movie. So
good.
Yeah, it's just I love it as well. So yeah, that one hits a soft spot for me too. But also, last question of the week comes to us from TPR. I don't know how much we're gonna have to say about this one, but we'll answer it anyways. He says, "Let's say Microsoft does their own Tower of Power for Xbox. What are the components and why?" So here's the thing, TPR.
like
I
a
don't know anything
Saturn.
about PC components, so I really have nothing to say about this question. But what do you think, Sean?
Like the Tower of Power, like the Sega kind of deal, like expansion.
guess so.
Like I don't know. Like it's got to be some sort of like additional power, right? It's got to be part of it. Well, let's talk about like let's take the Series S. I think the Series S is really where you're going to have a Tower of Power, and at a certain point, like you'll hit a threshold where you probably should just get a Series X, right? So you can have a little attachment on there with like an actual disc player. I think would be where you start like a 4K Blu-ray player that you have attached onto it. You obviously need some more processing power, so something that it would snap on top of to give it a little extra memory, a little extra processing power. I think that's probably where I would start. Those two things, man. And an external hard drive as well. Like not even they already have a nice elegant feature there, but let's get more. Let's get like a stackable set of gigantic hard drives that you can have externally as part of this Tower of Power. Does that make any sense? Do you know what I'm saying?
It makes sense. And ultimately, I will, go one step further and say there should be an add-on that allows you to play 32X cartridges on it, like a cartridge slot that attached to the back of your Xbox One S.
Bring back the HD DVD drive as well. Like you might as well just add some like series backwards compatibility.
Only if it comes with a copy of King Kong.
That's
just
right.
like the original one did.
That's right. Definitely. Yeah, man. I like that. It's so fun. Okay, now we're getting here. Okay, so the controllers on the Xbox One plugged in USB. The controllers for the 360 didn't plug in with USB. They had a different plug-in, right?
No, they actually plugged in with USB, but the adapter going into the controller itself was not it was kind of like a big add-on. It was kind of clunky.
Oh, I'm thinking of the spot for the memory cards on the bottom. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, so go back to the original Xbox then. I need plugins for that. Kind of like you've got on the top of the Wii. If you've ever opened up the Wii, and you get GameCube
like
controllers.
GameCube slots.
Yeah, exactly. So I want that on attached to this, so you could plug in like the old Duke controllers for original Xbox back compatibility, man.
So then you don't have to go buy like the new Duke controller, which is expensive.
That's right. You also need a tower power spot for Kinect. You need that attached to it. So yeah, bring all the things, man.
My God. Well, anyways, Sean, we got to go. But before we go, Sean Plugs go.
You're like, we weren't supposed to spend that long on that question. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. And I just want to say, I'm so glad people have stuck with us for this long, listening to this show. It's been a year at least, like lead up for Halo. And we're still playing Halo on Halo Saturdays, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/Sean Capri. Be there or be not there, I guess. But it's not as good to not be there, Ryan.
Oh, of course. And in fact, it's funny you say that because I think like around the time when I started the show is when like Halo Infinite was like first announced. So it's come like full circle for me. For me, like hearing about the game when I first started to it finally being out. So
kind of a big day.
People are finding it as well. So as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You can find us on Twitter at Yumi Capri's, on YouTube at youtube.com/Yumi Capri, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 219 of the Xbox Drive, and we out. Ball.
Happy Halo Day, everybody. Ball. The Xbox Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/Yumi Capri. And from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful to the nearly 70 patrons who support us each and every month. With special thanks to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and Jonathan Brown, the man behind the music on the Xbox Drive and the Nintendo Drive. You can support Jonathan Brown at youtube.com/GamingPurpleMonkey. Our platinum producers, Robbie Bobby Miller and Trucker Sloth, and all of our gold members, Argo, Benji Kong, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Dano, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Heather Boney, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, Mr. and Mrs. Nasty Boots, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. If you'd like to support this show, go to patreon.com/Yumi Capri and choose the Patreon tier that works for you.